Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AutoML and Training Community meeting on 1st of December. I'm so glad to see you all. Just to remind you, as always, if you want to check our previous recording, you could check this YouTube channel, which we have in our notes. In the meantime, if you want to add something in the future items, please feel free to update this doc here. We are welcome to any presentations in the future. And today we have like a few items on the agenda. I think we'll start with the training step. So the first thing that we need to discuss about the roadmap on Kubeflow 1.5. And my question is like, who is going to take it, Yuan or Justin, on this step?
Unfortunately, I can't take it this time due to conflicts with my other conference talks in the coming weeks. So.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, we have an issue to track it, so I think let me open it. Yeah, so as I can see, okay. So yeah, Justin, you create this issue, right? Will you actually be able to present? I mean, this roadmap looks good to me, and I'm pretty confident that we should focus on Elastic Training and MPI operator on 1.5, because I think MPI operator is already like an upstream. And Elastic is a very good feature and a lot of users actually need it, right? So maybe we can just try to finalize these items in the simple like presentation. And if you have time on the next committee meeting, we can just present it the next Tuesday.
Right. I think we can build the slide or the content first, and whoever in the training group have time can help present us to present the slide. But the first thing is we need to have some agreements on the roadmaps. To me, I think the Elastic training will be a good story for the next release.
Yeah, I agree. One concern I have, so I looked through this issue. One concern I have is since we are near the year end and all the vacations coming up, I think we probably want this release to be less ambitious, less features, but more, we want to deliver more mature features instead of like the recently developing features. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable and fair enough.
Yeah, so for example, like the TensorFlow Elastic training, I don't think we all have time to work on that unless someone really has dedicated time to work on that.
Yeah, I agree. I would think that's kind of optional. For the first two, the Touch Elastic and the MPI, I think the team accumulate enough knowledge on that part, and we need some more like time to stabilize the features. And yeah, as you said, I agree on that part.
Yeah, so the MPI operator V1 just got merged recently, so I think we all need some time to test that more thoroughly to make sure the experience is consistent with the original V1 operator in the MPI operator repo.
So are we targeting the newer operator in this release?
No, not V2, just V1 operator. So theoretically, all the features, all the experience should be consistent. It should be zero effort to migrate for testing.
So in Kubeflow 1.5, we support only V1 in universal training operator, right?
Yes.
So the question is like, are we going to deliver V2 for the community also, or are we going to skip it?
It's optional. It's similar to the TensorFlow Elastic training. I don't think we'll have enough time to develop and test everything. But we can ask to see if the team that worked on the V1 MPI operator would be able to deliver V2 before 1.5 release. I guess we'll have to double check.
Yeah, because the question is like what we're going to deliver in Kubeflow manifest, right? And since MPI currently it's not in the universal one, and it's not clear to me like how we're going to install the Kubeflow 1.5 with this 2 version of MPI, right?
Yeah. So I think we'll have to work on including the V1 MPI operator in the manifest.
Yeah, maybe we should ask Aldo about it. I'm not sure he's right now on the call. Yeah, because he's like the main maintainer for V2 MPI, and since like the feature freeze is like around like 1.5 months from now, maybe if he has like enough time to implement like this version in universal, maybe we can just remove the API completely from manifest, right? From the manifest repo.
Right.
Okay, sounds good. Yes. Go ahead, John. Yep.
Oh, did I interrupt someone?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So if I'm catching up with the MPI operator right now. I know that you want to have the MPI functionality in the common operator. So this version 2 operator of MPI, V2 corresponds to the CRD version.
The controller version. The V2 controller version.
I see over there on the third bullet, the V2 maintainers. What does this V2 refer to?
V2 MPI controller.
So it's for the control. It's a version of the controller, or are we having a new version of the CRD? This is my question.
I think it's the same thing, right? So if we can support, I think there are. Yes, they are in different versions, but the V2 controller has CRDs, separate CRDs, but they are V2 alpha or beta.
Gotcha. Okay, we're talking about the next thing I want to ask if it would
V2 beta 1.
V1 alpha and beta. So you covered it. Yeah, now that I see it, So the question is if it should have the V2 beta 1 or it should use an iteration that is integrated with the common code. This is the debate.
Yeah, so I think for V2 have V2 beta 1 as I can see, and for V1 we have V1 APIs, and it's like has 2 different controllers. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because because my question to the Yuan, so in that case, can we? So if like the maintainers cannot like deliver this in the universal one, would it be a problem if we have like separate installer for MPI V2 and MPI V1 in the universal reconcile? Because basically,
Yeah, could you go back to the notes? I think there's one thing I want to correct.
Okay.
So this should be V1 MPI operator. Let me see. So we have 2 things, right? V1 MPI controller. This is also already completed, but we just need to double check whether the manifests are ready for 1.5 deliver, but the V2 MPI controller is not completed yet. So not to mention the manifest. So so the first item is something we want to check whether we can include V1 manifests. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but when we talk about like not completed, do you mean like the controller reconcile is not completed and it cannot be used in production?
The V2 MPI operator is not, let me clarify that, not migrated to common operator yet.
Yeah, that makes like more sense to me. So yeah, because the question is if we not like have enough time to like migrate V2 in the universal, maybe we can have like a separate manifest for MPI V2 as the part of Kubeflow manifest. Yeah, and the question is like, can we support it? Can users like install these 2 different CRDs for V1 MPI and for V2 MPI as well? So is it possible?
Right now, let's just focus on V1. I don't think
Okay.
it's possible to support both versions right now.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I don't think anyone has much time to work on V2 in the near future yet. We need to ask others to see if they are interested in contributing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any questions about MPI? Okay, then sounds good. Let's create a draft presentation for that. I don't know, do we have an issue to track it like with the MPI v2 migration to ask like to ping Aldo and other like maintainers of the MPI operator?
Sorry, say that again?
Do we have an issue to track it, to track the progress of migration v2 and universal operator?
Yes, I'll link that issue to the in the Google Doc.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, so I think we'll create presentations, and I think we will target like 7th of December. I think George, this is for you. So 7th of December, I think next community meeting, we will present like training and KDIP in the one meeting, like 2 updates from our side. Josh, it sounds good to you, right? You can attend the next community meeting to present the training updates.
I need to check the time. So if I can make it, I think yeah, people like Jono or others can help to make it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jiaxin suggested that we are collectively collaborating on the slides first, and then we can decide on afterwards to see who's presenting that.
Sounds good. So any other questions for the training site, or we can move forward? Maybe any updates that what is the current progress for testing? Because I know that previously we have discussion that some of the testing has not been finished yet. And we should focus maybe on like coverage, the training operator coverage. Yeah, so I don't know if we should focus it before like the next release, and we should prioritize this issue. Yeah, I think like this one, right? Enable test whole framework. So from my understanding, currently we don't have like tests for, like we have tests only for TensorFlow, right? For TF job.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, maybe we can like try to prioritize, but I don't know. I mean, we can maybe discuss it afterwards to like how we should prioritize the issue. But from my point of view, like we should maybe have a better coverage for 1.5, Kubeflow 1.5. I mean, okay. Any other questions for the training side from the community, or we can move forward? Okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you guys for pushing this. Jan and Justin, I appreciate it. So I think it will be really good release for us, like in 1.5, and we already like deliver all the features. And maybe, I mean, one point from my side, maybe we should, do you have like specific use cases when the universal training operator already like in production? Maybe some of actually stories that you can talk to the community, because this was like the huge change, right, for Kubeflow overall once we migrate to the universal one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's in production yet, but I know some companies like Tencent is actively working on adopting the universal operator. Not sure if it's in production yet, though.
So I would say like if Tencent guys, if they're like interesting to share it to the community, maybe just have one presentation in the not next, but maybe in January in some of the Kubeflow community meetings to show the progress. because this was like the huge jump, as I said before, to the universal one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can
We're also-
ask the end users. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We are also going to use the common one internally for some clients we have, and a colleague of mine is also deploying an example for PyTorch. So if that goes well, we can also help in promoting more the training operator. And of course, we'll give feedback if something doesn't work.
Sounds good. I think the more we can present our use cases, and the better for the project to get more public exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Just show the advantages why we're actually making this migration, right? And I think we discussed about it before, like what is like the motivation of migrating everything to the one universal operator.
I have just a quick question on Kubernetes version 122, the cert manager 1.5, and Istio 1.11. Are there any challenges apparent?
No, I think the only change in 122 related is the CRD version. It deprecates the V1 beta 1, and besides that, I'm not aware of any API level changes, because the training operator's dependency is lightweight. It doesn't use the like those heavy stacks, so it's pretty I think lightweight.
So Jishin, one question related to that. So so what is the effort required to move the testing framework to 1.22 Kubernetes? Is it easy to do that?
Yeah, I think that we can bump the Go module like the dependencies, and also the controller tools versions. I think besides that, let me see. Another thing is sorry, you mean the environment?
The AWS environment, the testing environment.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah, I think we can. That's not a problem. Like creating cluster scripts. I think that's part of the Kubeflow testing repo. I think if we need the specific version, we can make it.
Okay. I think that would be good, right? Because then automatically everything will be tested on 1.22, and we don't need to worry about whether it supports the latest version or not. Automatically, all the PRs will get tested if you can do that.
Right. That makes sense. I think let's create a story, and so that script can be overridden, and we can put the specific version in our code repo as well. Yeah, let's create a story for that.
yeah, it's a great point. I think we should migrate all of our info to 1.22 once we decide to move to 1.22. And it relates to everything, not only to everything. We're just using the AWS infra, like notebooks, KDB training, right?
Yeah, the only thing is, I think the 122 is not supported on EKS yet. We can confirm that, but to me, I remember the latest one is still 1.21.
Okay. I mean, we can discuss about it because it's affect everything. We cannot just make. I mean, I'm not sure if the script has like an option to specify the version. This script, like create EKS cluster. Yeah, so maybe we should investigate if it is possible to specify the version as an input information on this script that Yao created before.
Right, that script, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
we can specify the version, but it requires the platform to support the version first.
Yeah, sounds good. So do you think like we already support 122, right? Because the CRD is migrated, and we don't have any other dependencies on the training side, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Josh, I think from our side, we like training already like support 122.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yep.
And no dependencies on this emissary executor or anything like that, right? There's nothing there for you guys on that.
No, it's related to pipelines. So
Yep, that's what I thought. Okay.
okay, yeah, I think we can move forward. Is there not any questions on training side? Okay, sounds
I
good.
think
Yeah,
the only
sure.
one, I think in the test coverage, I'm not sure whether it covers it. I think that Terry basically raised an, I don't remember which GitHub issue was that, but again, regarding the coveralls badge, right? Like we are not having that good test coverage, and our numbers were pretty bad in training operator. So I think if we could actually manage that as well in this race, I think that would be great.
Yeah, so basically I created a PR trying to remove the coverage badge because it was very low at 9%.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I realized that it was at 26% or something. So it's not that bad, but still bad.
Yes.
But
Agreed.
we decided to keep the badge there to keep us motivated to develop more test cases.
So I think we should basically target to at least get 50% this in this release. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't think we should remove it because it's motivate like people and new contributors to like make some progress. And I think it would be great if we can like point these issues like the help wanted and like with the first good issue label. Because like the test coverage is maybe it's easier to implement some of the unit tests. And yeah, it would be great if we can like have this issue. If you have this issue, just let me link in the notes if you can find them.
Yeah,
I'll
Terry.
create an
Okay.
issue. Yeah,
sure. Okay, so let's just move forward to AutoML. So I think before we jump to the Kati roadmap updates, since Dejan, you don't have like much time to discuss. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for like volunteer to the user group contributor. We have currently 2 active new contributors who just want to be part of this group. And Josh, you just made a lot of like great progress to involve new people to the community. I think like this is one of the best thing that we've done like so far for almost like, I don't know, like for the latest community contributor summit that we had in Google in 2018 and also like 2019. But since right now everyone like just, I mean, we're working remotely, it's very hard to like invite new people, right? Yeah, and I mean, what exactly, just to give updates to everyone, Josh proposed the idea. I mean, Josh, you can give an update to other people what exactly it is. Yeah, if you're willing to. Oh, I think we can. Yeah, we can hear you.
I think you do a better job of selling it than I do. So go ahead. You're seeing them.
Yeah, I mean, the main idea is, let me open an issue. So the main idea is just we want to, for each Kubeflow release, we want to force like new people to contribute to the community. And let me find, yeah, this one. And basically for each release, we can find 1 or more people to be in this group, which called like user group contributor. And from my understanding, they can just select a couple of like proposals or a couple of like issues that they want to work on. And we as the working group leads can approve it and move forward with this sort of the contribution, right? So this is the like overall process, right, Josh?
Yeah, it's defined to be a very ephemeral type of role, but with responsibilities and acknowledgement that the working group leads are going to analyze the people that come in and ask to do projects, both their background and the PR that they would submit, and hopefully that these user group roles then get benefit back. They get a reward that as they're contributing, they have a project that they can show both to the industry, to their company that they're working for themselves, that they delivered in this time frame, and then they can decide if they want to continue to grow into the community with other contribution.
Yeah, I think we can think about reward also, because I think it's important to to show community like the work that the new contributors were doing, right? Yeah, I mean, we can discuss about it later. So from AutoML side, we have like two new contributors who just want to be part of this this event. And I think, Dejan, we can start with you. I mean, you can give like us an introduction, also just to give an update for what you're willing to work on.
Of course. Thank you very much, Andrei, for the introduction and for agreeing to collaborate. I made a couple of slides. If you don't mind, I can share.
Yeah, sure. Would be great.
Thank you. So just a second. Host disabled participant.
Yeah, let me actually. Yeah, share screen. You can try to do it right now.
Okay, it works now. Just a second. All right, so you should be able to see it.
Yep.
John, are you going to give any background about? Oh, there you are. I was going to
Yeah,
say who you are besides going to KubeCon and going to LA. Yeah, go ahead.
Good to see you, Josh, and Kimonos as well. To see you again. So hello, my name is Dejan. I'm a software engineer. I work at CERN, and at CERN we have a private cloud at IT. And our idea with Kubeflow is to offer a centralized machine learning service to CERN scientists and research groups. Because at the moment, there are multiple groups at CERN who do machine learning, and everybody has their own local infrastructure, basically 1 or 2 GPUs, and then they have to set up everything from scratch, and that takes a lot of time for scientists, for physicists to do. So what we wanted to do is to offer a centralized service where we take care of the infrastructure, and basically users only do machine learning workloads. So yeah, that was our goal, and Kubeflow fit perfectly into that. So we are running an instance in production, and we basically have a certain number of users, and this user community is growing every day. So that's basically the intro about what we do. We try to gather feedback as much as we can from CERN community, and so far we have only very positive impressions. People like user-friendly UI, they like access to GPUs, and then the additional features like distributed training or Katib or Kale. So far, we really had a good experience. Yeah, we are managing instance. We have, of course, issues here and there, but we are managing that from day to day. What I thought to contribute in this time frame is an issue with debugging Katib jobs. So basically right now, users can debug Katib jobs using kubectl, and that works great. And when they say retain logs true, that works perfectly. But ideally, we would want to have the logs appear in the UI. So similar like pipelines to have a window where we can see logs from all the trials. And I discussed this with Kimonos at KubeCon, and there is a GitHub issue also. So now from the front end perspective, basically for every trial, maybe we could have an additional button where we can click and show the logs, and we can show it in a separate window or in a drop-down tab. We just have to be aware of, for example, when we run TF jobs or PyTorch jobs, then we have multiple workers. So then we have to make sure to get logs from each worker. So basically my idea, and here, pardon my graphic design, it would look much better. Essentially, if we click logs, we would have a drop-down window where we can see logs from each worker and the master, master worker, or if it's a regular job, then we would basically see just logs from that job, from that pod. And in the backend, and this is Kimonos' idea, basically maybe we could add a label to every pod that belongs to a job or a TF job, and just read logs from that specific label, from pods that have that specific label. So yeah, this is my current understanding, and please correct me if I understood something wrong. And if you have ideas, please share, and then we can work together on implementing this. And yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, I think looks awesome. I mean, yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so here, so can you just explain? I didn't explain this part, adding a label part. Can you explain a bit on that?
Basically, when we have a job, we will have one pod that does the training. But when we have a TF job or a PyTorch job, then we'll have multiple pods running in parallel. So we have to get logs from each of those if we want. Maybe we want only from a master or a worker 0.
Right. So we already handled that, and there is a label giving out master label in TF job and PyTorch job, like in all the distributed jobs. Have you seen that? Because we basically use that for the final
metrics collector.
Metric collectors. We basically use that label. It is already there.
Okay, great. I'll have a better look then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think label approach is great. And maybe some of the users want to receive like the logs from workers, not only from the master. And yeah, I mean, this definitely can work with the current distributed training implementation.
And I have one more question. So in your experiments, are you submitting, like, how do you prefer submitting jobs? Is it via UI or is it via command line? Like you talked about using that from your ML practitioners, right? So are they using UI primarily?
Basically UI, yes, yeah.
Got it.
And they would definitely prefer to have more options on the UI, to see everything on the UI so that they don't have to do kubectl at all. I mean, that would be ideal.
Got it.
And the use case where that can be done, yeah.
And is it a multi-tenant deployment, Kubeflow deployment?
Sorry, multi?
So do you provide separate accounts for each
yes,
user?
Multi-user, yes.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, I think it looks great. There's a couple of things from my side. I think we discussed already with Kamonos, probably like you have like 2 ideas with if you just scroll up your slide, you have like 2 ideas how you actually, yeah, this one, how you show the logs using separate window or just a drop-down tab. I think we discussed with Kamonos before that probably separate window would be better because we also like want to fill the overview information for each trial, fill the YAML for each trial, and many more tabs. So yeah, this is like how we were designing this before, and maybe we have like a separate tab with logs where the users can select like the workers, the master if they want to receive the main logs. Yeah, I think it would great fit in our current UI implementation. What do you think?
Yeah, for me it works. I think it will work. Yeah.
Maybe also because I think it's the very good thing, maybe just having separate plots for analyzing metrics, because currently we don't have any sort of the graphs, how the distribution actually combines inside trials, because sometimes tuning process can be optimized based on the metrics, metrics results. And currently our users only can see like the distribution from like start to end. And maybe in the future we can have like more sophisticated like graphs, maybe in like some sort of the other like AutoML techniques, not only in tuning, right? Yeah, and I think like separate page for trial will fit everything in the future, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
From my side, I can help with bootstrapping the issues to not have all the effort at once. We can break it down to smaller parts and steps, so I can coordinate with the Jan. I'd really like that.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
So
yeah, I think
one thing I've had users ask me, is there any way to search the log? If I'm being too advanced, fine, but this is just going to display the log as it's coming up. I mean, what would I see when I click on, let's say, worker 1? What am I going to see? The real-time logs as they're being generated?
Correct. This would be the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the hard part will be what's happening if we don't have a retain parameter, as you mentioned in the presentation, right? So I don't know how actually pipelines solve this problem. For example, if the users want to like clean all of the resources, but in the meantime, checking the logs from the workflows.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is not possible, right, to do that right now.
What was the question? If we do what exactly?
Because in the experiment API in KDIP, you have a retain parameter, which is eventually save the trial resources once the trials has been finished. So the question is like, is it possible to show the logs even if the trial was deleted? So we need some sort of the volume to save this logs, and yeah, because otherwise user have to set this retain parameter, because once the trial is finished, controller will clean all of the resources, right?
Makes sense. One step at a time, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean we can think about it later, because I don't know how pipelines actually solve this problem in the Argo workflows, right? Because once user clean up the workflow, they don't have access to the logs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they have that time to live, basically. They
oh yeah.
Yeah, they leave it by default, I think, 1 day, and then the logs are gone.
Mm. Yeah, it's like the Argo workflows APIs just give this functionality.
Might be.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean we can think about it in the next step. But overall, I mean it looks great. It would be great if we can, like as you mentioned, like split this in the issue, and we can just have your like central issue, which is like the issue that you created as the main one, and we can track others as a sub issue. So do you think we have enough time to actually implement the first version in the 1.5 before January 15th?
Before January
15th, because the feature-free state will be January 15th.
To be honest, I don't think so, because I'll have some holidays and I don't.
Okay.
I'll have a lot of time to commit for.
Yeah, I mean.
Time, yeah.
It's totally fine. So we can just have the first. I mean, maybe move this feature in the next release, and we'll just notify users that, because this is like actually one of the features that a lot of users asked from like 2 years ago, and even in the old UI we don't have this functionality, and so many users, they don't want to go to the kubectl, as you mentioned. Yeah. So this will be very important for us overall. Yep. Thank you so much, Dejan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, let me start to share again. So I don't know, Josh, do we want to mention this kind of process in our roadmap? I mean, in the Kubeflow community meeting, and as I mentioned to you before, or this like kind of separate process, because we don't have like the kind of like right now the process how we want to make it forward, push it forward to the community. I mean, to the Kubeflow community.
The user group contributor role process. Yeah. So, I'm supposed to talk to Taya on Thursday, and she may want to do a little bit of tweaks to before we create the PR and put it into the community repo as a process defined. So that's what I'm waiting on, is for her to give me her final blessing. I think that doing these as you're doing with the people that are coming up is fine. It's just a matter of to grow it out into the bigger community. I'm waiting for her feedback, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see like what's their things, and we can just promote it to the like overall Kubeflow community also, because it's very important. And also we have the second candidate, which Joinan. He's right now not in the call, but he made a lot of progress in KDIP overall in before in the 0.12 release and 0.11, and he has been in the community for almost half a year. So he's not in the meeting right now, but I will ask him to provide maybe some of the issues that he wants to work on in the 1.5 or maybe in the future releases, and maybe just ask him to prepare just a simple presentation, because I think it's a good actually idea to have a small presentation on the work you want to deliver to the community, because we as a lead can provide the feedback, maybe ask questions, and maybe if this feature is like more like it's like very complicated, we can create like a proposal, because we have like the proposal folder under KDIP, and we can ask people to contribute some of their proposals here. For the UI updates, I don't think we require like the proposal, because the issue creation is very straightforward, and we already have a discussion. So John, as like, so do you think do we need to create proposal, or we can move forward with just an issue creation right now for this feature, for the UI updates?
Just feature should be good enough, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will speed up the process, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I will ask him to just provide maybe a presentation or just a list of the issues that he wants to work on as the part of this user group contributor. Yeah, thank you so much again, guys, because this is very important for the community. We really need to show that the new people can come to us and contribute for issue that they want to work on, and we always like welcome to any new contribution for you. And it doesn't really matter how what is like your experience in Kubeflow, so you can easily contribute to the testing or to the docs or to any sort of the issue that they have. Yeah, and just move forward to the roadmap. I created the draft presentation, so I will also like present this in the next community meeting, Josh, about the KDIP. So I created the draft, and the link is public. So if you want to give a feedback before Tuesday, just feel free to do it. We don't have we have some of the updates, and I'm trying to just group them in the breaking changes, the algorithms, the components. So if the community has any feedback before Tuesday, feel free to just leave a comment in this doc. Just a couple of things that I want to discuss in this meeting about the breaking changes. So we have
Andre, sorry.
Yeah,
I have to leave. Thank you very much for the great meeting, and we'll be in touch. We'll
yeah, sure. Thank you so much, John. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Great to see you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, so about the breaking changes. So we have in the 1.5 we will have 3 breaking changes, which we probably need to deliver to our users, because after this change they won't be able to use the previous experiment in 1.5. For example, the first one is about namespace label. So the point is we already so we want to rename the name of the label in our KDIP namespace, and we want to use this. We already push this to the upstream. So after this change, users won't be. They have to update the namespace to run KDIP in 1.5. So my question is here: will it be fine for our users? So because do we want to have deprecation label for one release? Because one of the solution could be here just having two labels and support these 2 labels for at least one release, or we want just to rename the label to the new one. So John, what do you think about this label? Because it affects all of the experiments and all of the namespaces for the users who are just using KDIP in their environment, in their Kubeflow environment.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm also not sure what it would be the right way to handle this, right? Because this will be a breaking change. So I think since we are not in V1 version, I think we can just go ahead and then just announce it that it is a breaking change.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine for now because we're still in the beta phase of the KDIP as the project overall. But after we're migrating to V1, we definitely need to have more the better process of implementing these new breaking changes, right? Similar what we did with the issue with current request number, because I believe that we currently deprecate one of the APIs. Yeah, let me try to see it. So I think it's here. Request. Yeah, so what we did here, we do not delete the old API, but we just notify users that this API will be deprecated in the future releases. And then in the next one after Kubeflow 1.5, we will just remove them. So for now, for the label, I think we don't really need to do that, but in the future, we might need to think better about it once we have the V1 version of KDIP, right? Because the upgrading processes will be extremely hard for the users. right now.
I think it makes
Hello, Andrew.
sense. I would definitely make a program to communicate the breaking changes and maybe do it more than once, right? So you'll do it next week if we can do it again and again, so people, if there's something that they need to prep for, right? I mean, is it basically none of their experiments they'll be able to rerun in 1.5? I mean, they won't be able to use the prior experiments. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, they still can use it, but they need to update their namespace manually. So they need to manually change the namespace label. In that case, they can actually simply use the previous experiment, right, Jonah? Because, for example, imagine they have experiment which runs for like 2 days, and then they upgrading to Kubeflow 1.5, and they want to just, because we have a feature which resume experiment, and they want to resume this experiment after 1.5. They also still can resume the experiment. They just need to update the label, right?
I think so. I think so. It should work after that.
Yeah, maybe I think it's a good point from George just to maybe point the actions that users need to do, right?
But we have to do testing that before writing it here.
Yeah, it's a good point. So I mean, because it's a good way to just point the users in the presentations what exactly they need to do to continue using KDIP in their environment, right?
So I'm just walking this through from a user standpoint. I've done 1,000 hyperparameter sweeps, right? And now I upgrade to 1.5.
So for you, experiment will be just manually changing the label in the namespace. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. But it's a good way to just point this in the presentation. We need to test it because I can say it right now, but from my understanding that this will be like the straightforward process. But it's still a good way to just point this in the presentation, right, to the users.
Okay.
So if I understand correctly, the profile controller is currently doing the job of injecting namespace label to each profile. So if you can like make a documentation about how to update the namespace label config map. I think there's a YAML file. Yeah, you have already changed that.
Yeah, we have already like.
Yeah, and make sure that like people will update that, because profile controller will automatically read from this file and inject the new label to all the existing namespace. Then presumably it should be fine, right?
Yeah, because this config map can be updated on the fly, right, Kamanos? So we don't need to reinstall the profile to update this config map.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I want to be. I need to double check that if the question is, does the profile process, the pod, detect that the config map changed, so it has to update all of the in theory it should be, once it finds once it syncs all of the namespaces, it should look at the config map and use the correct value. But I need to double check on. In theory it should, but let's put an asterisk there.
I think existing namespace won't be updated. We don't have such process in the profile controller, but the new one definitely will use the new config map, right?
That's my
if you
understanding as well.
Okay, if you redeploy the profile controller, will it help?
Yeah, you mean like you redeploy the namespace, you mean, or redeploy the profile controller?
The profile controller manifest. Yeah. So currently what I do is I use customize to build the manifest, like the YAML file, and the YAML file will include the namespace label.yaml, and then I can also do my customization as well.
because of that, after I build the YAML file, then I can just kubectl apply. Yeah, so I think that will basically redeploy the profile controller.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because in any case, profile control will use the new image. Because of that, they will redeploy it. But it's still,
it's the problem of like whether it will apply to the existing namespace.
Yeah, for the existing, yeah, but it's still not good way to upgrading Kubeflow, right? Because the profile controller, I'm not sure if it will handle the previous profiles, right? Which already like create.
I think that James Liu has a point here. The reason when you reapply the manifest, a new config map with a new random name will be generated. So there you will have a new deployment spec that will result in a new pod. And once the new pod gets fired up, it will inevitably look at all of it will reconcile its namespace once. So when it gets up and reconciles its namespace, it should update the annotation, the label. So yeah, it should. I think it should work.
Yeah, I think it was to testing because it's very good if profile can handle this sort of the manipulation, right?
Yeah, let's do testing before announcing the solution. Else, I think it might be confusing to the users.
Yeah. So do you think we should point this in the KT roadmap presentation? Because in KT roadmap, we can say you have to just update the label, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's, yeah, I mean, do you think it's better to speak about from the profile perspective, on the profile controller perspective?
Yes, I think like if we can test what James told, if it works, I think that way, I think we can just give one solution for users, having the previous one, right? I think we just need to have one particular solution and say that like if you do that, like you can update it to the latest one.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think so. Any questions on this side on the roadmap? Just to let you know, like Kubernetes 1.22 already like supported in KDIP, and I have tested like a couple of experiments on the 1.22. So I think we won't have any issue. Only one thing that for the cert manager, we have a pending PR that upgrading the cert manager to the V1. So my question is here, what version of cert manager we're going to use in Kubeflow 1.5?
So the plan is for 1.5, but I actually want to ask you guys as well if this is going to be okay with you.
When did you use cert manager in the standalone installation? So as long as Kubeflow can support V1, we are happy to migrate.
Check. I think it can support V1, but I'll need to double check.
Yeah, because cert manager is used for a KServe. I don't know, like other projects, other components also using cert manager, right? So I think we should be consistent across Kubeflow components, right?
Yeah, I'll take a more detailed look on that to ensure that what are the versions that work with the other components, etc. We won't push these chains.
Okay.
Hey guys, I had a quick question around Kubeflow. I see that there are only 2 more minutes left.
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So my name is Sunil. I work for a company called GraphCore. So we basically build hardware accelerators. It's called IPUs. So we are trying to extend Kubeflow to support like IPUs, let's say. So how do we go about extending Kubeflow to support? Like I see that like in most of the examples, it's GPUs that are used. Is it easy to extend the Kubeflow or like the training operator or any one of these operators to use a different resource, different hardware accelerator?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we do. We also have an example FPGA for Kadip.
Okay.
So yeah, as long as Kubernetes, I mean, you can take a look at this example.
Okay.
But overall, as long as your Kubernetes environment supports any type of the resource, our operators can be built on top of them. Because we're using the Kubernetes job procedure here. And as you can see here in FPGA, we specified the specific resource here.
Right. So it has to be a device plugin, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah, it has to be. Yeah, it has to be device plugin on your Kubernetes cluster.
Right. So we just so the user can just put in a different custom resource, and then everything should just work as expected. Exactly.
On the distributed training, John, do you think it also?
Yeah, it's the same case with training as well. So there is no difference as such, because most of the operators in Kadip basically uses standard manifest, right? So you could basically use the resource limits by which is provided by Kubernetes, and then it should directly work.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for the info.
Yeah, the interesting use case. So I mean, if you're willing to contribute some of the examples on the upstream, we're happy to like collaborate in the future. Similar to Yeah,
and we'd love to contribute. So we're happy to work on whatever is required to support support IPUs upstream. I'm not sure what's the right forum to actually explain, like how IPUs work and what kind of support is required to actually support it in Kubeflow.
So you could, so in one of the community meetings, I think Josh is here. So here we could, you could talk about the possible use cases, and if you have questions on Kubeflow, you could talk in the main Kubeflow community meeting that happens every week. So one in US friendly time zone and one in the Europe Asia friendly time zone. So you could get in one of the meetings and then get a slot for it. You could ping Josh for adding that to the agenda meeting.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, George.
Yep, surely welcome to have speakers.
Thanks, Josh. I'll ping you.
Yeah, I think it will be great. Just if you can, Sunil, just create. So if you're just interested in doing this in training or in like hyperparameter tuning, just feel free to create an issue and just ping us in this issue, and we can track we can just give a spot to you to just have this presentation in the future. I mean, in the future community meetings.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks.
That'd be great. Yeah, just we out of time, but just a small, since James is here, just small question here. We created an issue to automatically publish Kadip images to the Docker Hub. I think, James, we will like sync later just to let community know that we will automate the process to publishing images to the Docker Hub from the Kadip side, and I think we will just sync with you to provide the token to our Docker Hub and to be able to push in the images automatically, right?
Sounds good. I am aware of this issue, and
okay.
Yeah, we can follow up in our meeting. Yes.
Sounds good. Yeah, it would be great if we can do it like as soon as possible to simplify our process. Maybe like tomorrow or like when you're available.
Okay. Sounds good. I can put an invite to your calendar.
Sounds great. Yeah, we'll leave it out of time. But any last questions, comments on Kadip training? Okay, sounds great. Yeah, it was a very good meeting. Thank you so much, guys, for your presentations. And I hope we have like wonderful rest of December and good weekends. So see you again soon, and have a good rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.